Hi, and welcome to the World Networking Podcast. Today, we have Rick Porter joining us. He brings years of eco-science development and industrial work. He brings a perspective from the South and the culture around there, and being from the Midwest, kind of what he observed, and what he's learned about society and living among different people and their opinions. I think we had a really good discussion, and he and I were very well acquainted in Georgia, and we were able to do different projects together. And I appreciate how helpful he's been in being here today and having this talk. So, Rick, if you're listening to this, I appreciate you, and I do think that the audience will appreciate hearing this feedback and in this discussion we had. I also wanted to announce that we're working on another project, the Intellectual Adventure Podcast. I'll be posting links in the description below, but as of releasing this podcast today, we will be releasing an episode tomorrow on that link provided. So look out for that if you're interested at all for a panel-like discussion and more of a different approach to topics at hand. Thank you again for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to the World Networking Podcast. Today we have Rick here to introduce some really cool background things that he's done in education and around the countryside. Rick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll tell you. My name is Rick, and I do have a last name. It's Porter. I live down in Columbus, Georgia. Been in the South for 45 years, but was born in the Midwest. And Cameron and I met. He was my next door neighbor here for a while in Columbus, and my wife and I sort of adopted him. He's got his own family, but that's just something we do. So we're glad to be with you all today.
Hey, it's been a pleasure knowing and talking with you guys, and I really am happy that you took the time out of your day to join me here. And honestly, what's some fun facts about yourself, or the places you've lived in that you'd like to share?
Well, I grew up in a town called Danville, Illinois. I was born in '48. Lived in Danville probably till I was about 20 years old, but I ventured out, took a trip when I was 18, went out, lived in Southern California for a while, Echo Park and other places in just roaming around, because that's a 60s thing, and we may talk about that later on. Lived in Kansas City, Missouri for a while. Lived in Miami for about 8 years, and then a little town in Florida before I settled down. My wife is from Columbus, Georgia, and we decided to come up here. It was a good place to raise our boys. She's from a big family. I'm a little smaller. I had a brother and sister, and that was it. But she's 6 sisters and another brother, and it fit right in because I did have a small family. But my mother's family, there was 13 kids. And so my aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff in Danville, we really had a good time growing up.
Hey, that's good, man. Having fellowship and community, even if it's among family, is a blessing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a small town like we were in, after a while, almost everybody's family. You do things. It's like when I was in grade school, the kids I was in grade school with, I played Little League Baseball with. When I grew up and we were in junior high school, in high school, we did crazy things together. But you really knew everybody all the time. I mean, you really do know people. It works for you. My mom, bless her heart, she's gone. She passed away about 14 years ago. But she worked down in town, and everybody in the school knew her. She was just real outgoing. So anything that I wanted to hide from her in a small town, couldn't do that because they would go, "Hey, guess what Rick did at school today?" So it was fun. I wouldn't trade that part of my life in that small town. It was just a lot of fun. It was great. You just don't get lost. Everybody does know your name. It was one of those things. And although I've lived in big cities in Miami and L.A. and Kansas City, this is where I'm at right now. Is a little bit bigger, but about 300,000 people. So little, but nice to manage. Had fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being in Columbus when I was there. There were a lot of aspects to it that were community driven, and I enjoyed that.
Well, it is, and now it's neighborhood. Every neighborhoods. I've gone out of my way. I believe that I can help my neighbors. I do them thing. We built a little garden for for a family just down the street from us because they're good kids, and we knew what it was like. Martha, my wife, what it was like with three boys, and there's what you wanted to do, and there's what you had to do. They had a little piece of property that was just looking on the corner, and we cleaned it all down and got put down plants and garden stuff. Looks good. So that's what neighbors should do. That's our philosophy.
Yeah, I can get behind that, and you guys have always been helpful souls. When we were there, you were very giving and willing to talk and help a neighbor out, and I always appreciated that.
Well, at my age, you get to risk where you're the nosy old guy that lives over on the corner. See, you have to balance it out. But it's just just you don't you want to speak. You want to be cordial, but you also know that there's a times there was a time when you and I we could take time to talk because you were free. You weren't in the middle of doing something at that particular time, but because I'm retired, I always try to honor that. We've got a police officer now, just cattywampus from us, and my wife and I have adopted him. He's just a good kid, and so that's what you do.
Well, and that's the southern hospitality, so they speak, that I think some people expect and come to realize. There's that sense of knowing your neighbor, making that
Yes.
effort, and I think that's a really important value that at least everyone should pull from. That it's not talked about enough, but I think that's a something the South does really well.
It
Um,
really does. I grew up in the Midwest. I knew what the South was like when I was a kid. The South was an ugly place in many ways obviously in the 50s and the 60s. But this is a new South. It really is. It's not perfect, but I can't find a community that is. Excuse me.
yeah.
So uh, I love it down here. It's this is a good place to live.
Well, and there's something I wanted to ask you about the gardening,
What's that?
especially since you're from the Midwest. You understand how different it is to have that humidity. How does it affect your gardening out there?
Well, obviously, because we're in a designated region, we know what kind of plants are going to grow here. It's high heat and humidity, and there are things that just flourish in it out here. So we by trial, I mean, we've been doing this uh, really seriously for the past 10 years of trial and error, and you get things that, for instance, a butterfly plant sounds like a great thing to have, but it doesn't work in every part of your yard. So through
Interesting.
trial and error, but we've got things that are perennials. They're coming back every year. They get better every year. You're gonna burn some every once in a while, every once in a while, and then they say, well, it'll be there. Well, it comes back. Sometimes they come back better. Sometimes they come worse. It's just trial and error.
Yeah, that's completely valid. I knew being out there with the humidity it'd be different, but I didn't expect as much growth from those plants as I saw. It's really
Uh,
breathtaking.
it is. I have a son who lives in out in Utah, and he came and spent a summer week with me, and I almost killed him. I mean, this was a pleasant surprise, and I can tell you about how he and I found each other after 55 years. I'll go ahead and tell you
Oh
that.
wow.
I'll tell you this. I was 18 years old, well, 20 years old, I think. Got a girl pregnant, hometown, small town, and back then you didn't automatically get married, and usually the girl would would go off and she'd disappear, and people would say, "Oh, she's with her relatives," or blah blah blah, and that's what it was. But anyway, he was born in 1968. I never, I lost track with the girl. I did not know if this child was a boy. I didn't know if this child was a girl. Excuse me. And I didn't even know if this child was still alive. Turn around about 2 years ago, my brother, my son, my oldest son at the time, he was no longer the oldest son. They clicked on one of the sites, and I get a call from my Michael. He said, "Dad, I think I found your son." Now, having said that, I told my wife about this when we were dating. I said, "There's a child out there, I think." I told my three sons about it when they were young enough to understand it, because I didn't want somebody just to show up and oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys. It's been something we've always known about. So we get that, and then Michael, that's my next oldest son, made contact with David and said, "I think your dad. I think my dad is your dad." Turned out great. Came and visited. It just, yeah, I can't begin to tell you what it was like, and I know that other families have had things like that. But he is a perfect fit. My I say I got three other boys. I got Tim 6'4". I got Ryan 6'2". I got Michael 6'5". David was 6'4.5". So he fit right in. Great sense of humor, which you've got to have at my house. So that's what kind of working at. That's what I'm working at.
Hey, that's a crazy story. I think that's beautiful that you guys were able to reconnect.
It is, and they've been here. They visited with us about three times. Uh, Met his wife. I got a bonus granddaughter. I'm short on granddaughters. She's 19 and a half. Loved her, and it just it just happened at this particular time in our life. We found each other. No hard feelings. He had questions, but no anger. He said, "Hey, I was 20 years old at one time, and I wasn't real bright either."
Man, it's the cycle of life, right? There's
It
so
is.
many
It
phases.
is. And you hear these stories because I shared it. I shared it on. I don't do much Facebook, but I put it on Facebook because I had people out of my high school. They knew about this, and I got, like I said, it was a small town. Everybody knew I was the father. Everybody knew that this girl was the girl. Everybody knew that she was pregnant, and everybody knew she went out of town. So I don't know what, but the response was really nice. I mean, people, you don't know what it might have been like, and to have had that same thing happen to you in the 50s or 60s. But
Yeah.
now I got great feedback, so it's just been awesome.
Well, I'm happy to hear that worked out in a positive
Yeah,
light for
yeah,
both of you. That's definitely a good outcome.
that it is. That it is.
But poking through, honestly, what was it like living through the '60s?
Wow, I tell you, the 60s for me was the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was 18 years old. I remember, now this is gonna, Life magazine, Look magazine. At that particular time in life, those were in your house. Your mom or your dad, they were, and I started seeing things about what was going on out in the West Coast, the free love things, drop in, drop out kind of things. And I was also really heavy into water sports. I loved to water ski and that. And I got this thing in my mind. Because you remember, I'm 18 years old. I'm 19 years old, maybe. And I'm kind of really bored about small town life. I'm getting at that point where I loved it, but I wanted to go. So I decided. I thought I could be a. This is almost embarrassing. I could be a hippie, or I could be a surfer. And I thought, well, I just wanted to. Hey, you know what I did? I got on an airplane and flew to Los Angeles. And being a hippie is whereas I ended up. And I got on the worst side of that life. That life, if it's it, it was so childish and so innocent. And then you had things like, what happened with uh, some of the scandals that happened back then, and the murders and the things that people talk about. But when we would walk the streets, everybody was really friendly. It was really love. You opened your door to anybody. There were eight of us. Eventually, a bunch of my buddies came out. There were eight of us living in a two or three bedroom apartment complex. I think, just and anybody that came by had a place to crash. And if the Manson thing came and sort of changed what was going on right there. And I I just was doing enormous amounts of drugs, the LSD. I was shooting drugs, heroin. I was shooting cocaine and taking pills, and wasn't it was. I got to the point where I knew that I was losing my health, and I came back. I went back home and got into retail clothing. But I was still doing drugs. My drug thing was from about 1968 to 1979. I've been just a long time, and I'm sorry now because I think physically I've paid some price because I've had cardiac problems. I don't know whether I would have had those if I was not abusing my body with amphetamines and cocaine and that kind of thing. But I survived it, and I have gotten the opportunity when it was there to talk to people, to talk before youth groups, to talk before whoever it was. I could even, I was willing. I've gone to people's house that knew me and said, "Hey, my son's doing that." You can talk to people, but you can't talk people out of it. You can only tell somebody so much. So that, but other than that, there was the trust that people had was nice. But again, you go back to the point, we were baby boomers. Most of us came back. My dad was 4 years in World War II. He's a Marine Corps sergeant, came back out, went back to work, never cried, never complained. And then I think we as kids, we almost really spit on our parents when we started talking about, well, baby killers, stuff over in Vietnam War. I think it was unfair. I think that we didn't really know anything. We just thought we knew. We thought we did, but we didn't. And life is not simple. Life is not just laying around and getting high and maybe going to a concert. And if you want to work, maybe deal some drugs or whatever, work something part time. I think the worst of it exists even now, but I think a lot of it just fell to the side. And the things like Manson and some things like what happened at some concerts out on the West Coast where people were killed, where Hell's Angels were doing the security. That's not going to go well. So it was a lot of fun in a certain way, but for me, I wasted probably the best 10 years of my life, because this is going to sound self-serving. things came very simple for me. School, because school was easy for me. For whatever reason, I absorbed it. I didn't have to study a lot. And what I could have done if I'd have been more mature, with hard telling, because I was wanting to get into medicine. And I also thought about, well, do I want to be I'd also thought about being a school teacher, but all that fell by the side. And by the time you're 30, you just, and I'm really a late bloomer at 30 because of the wasted time. So that's what the 60s did for me, or what I did to them. I can't blame them on them. They were choices I made.
That's a very deep laying out story. I I think there was a lot of controversy and tension in the
Yeah,
60s.
yes,
From what
yes.
I
Yeah.
understand, it seems like no one ever has a definitive right or wrong to the 60s.
No, I think one of the things that was really nice was because in the civil rights movement in that day, that generation, that those hippies, those street people, really went to war for that, to try to undo this unjust thing that had done simply based on color. And there were a lot of people that took some beatings during this, to got out there. And there were people like me that sat around smoking dope, talking about how terrible some white bigot is. Well, that wasn't fair. These other people were out on the walks, out on the battlefield, if I could say. And it took some time, but it was great. And I grew up in a Midwest town that was already, I mean, when I went to, let's see, I was 52, 50, 48, 6 years, 54, 50. It was already integrated. We again, small town. Us, black and white, we went to school together. We played little league baseball together. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect, and I'm not saying, but it was not Jim Crow, and that was the difference.
Yeah.
And a group of people, a lot of long hairs, really went out and took some pretty serious beatings for the cause. And that's the good part of the '60s.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, the civil rights movement was huge.
Oh, it
Uh,
was beautiful.
Massive. I mean, uh, obviously, I can only speak from the outside, but from what I've gathered, talking to people and seeing footage of the times, it's
It was
very
tough. It
it's
was tough.
shocking, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
was.
crazy what people will do for liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But when you really look at our government and how it was founded, it's just because we took territory doesn't mean that everyone in this country intended for others to get hurt for their freedom.
No,
You know,
absolutely not. Yeah, and one of the things, because and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, because your time down here, this is the South is different. The South is different than it was, obviously, back in the '50s and the '60s. It's a beautiful place. Are there still bigots? And there's bigots. You can be black, white, red, green, or yellow, and be a bigot, be prejudiced, any of those things. But I listen to some of the things that are spoken about the South, and it's almost like people are well, like they're still just like the South was in 1958. It's not even close to that. This is a beautiful, multi-colored community, and I love it here. And I would not want to stay in a place where people were unfairly treated simply by the color of their skin. And the South has grown a long way. It really has. And so when I hear these things that somebody just casually throws out, I say, no, wait a minute. wait a minute, come down here, and with my grandchildren, watch my grandchildren with these little white boys and these little boys of color, these little Spanish boys. They love each other, man, and they have great fun. And interracial marriages. Nobody's going to burn your house down because you or your spouses are different colors. This is a new South, and it's got more growing to do, but it's not the South that sometimes still gets referred to like things haven't changed.
I totally agree with you. And from my
No,
time spent there, it really is a beautiful place, a beautiful community of people that, they value their history with their
yeah,
families.
yeah,
And that's on
absolutely.
both sides, you know?
Yeah, it is, and it's growing and it's continuing to grow. And I can stereotype West Coast people. Been there. I can West Coast. I can stereotype anybody. That's not fair. We are unique beings, and some of us do stupid, foolish things, and but we grow out of it, and vice versa. Some of us don't grow out of it. And I trust the way that I watch things from different parts of my country that I live in, and I'm really proud of the history of America. We did things wrong. We came in wrong, but culturally things were different then. I didn't have to, I didn't have to go out and fight for this place where my house is built. And what happened, the way that people were treated, the way that Native Americans were treated, absolutely pathetic, absolutely pathetic, and continues to be because living on a, gosh, I don't even what to call it. It's not a homeland, that's for sure. But it was different back then, and we can't keep just what happens now. If you're going to just judge me as a white man in the South, you start back with Jim Crow, you don't really understand it. Come down and come down here and spend some time like you did. You saw what's going on out here,
Yeah.
and we just rather this. So that's uh, that this it troubles me, but I love this. I watch people. I I think, well, can't you can sit and watch television. You can sit and watch the success that men and women of color have done, who have great careers. I mean, so some of the best physicians, some of the best lawyers, some of the best doctors, some of the best athletes, some of the best whatever.
Yeah, it really
And
comes down to individual positions.
yeah, you can do well. It was I'm a classic. I made a choice in 1968 that I was going to do this, and it cost me. I can't undo it, but nobody made me do it, and no, there was no gun held on me. I made bad decisions, and it cost me in the long run. But God is faithful, and I love this life, and I love this country. I love the South. I love what I see out west. I think there's giving. I watch when there's a hurricane or whatever may come out there. I'm really proud to be an American. We're not bad people.
No, no, that's something I'm
We're
really
not,
hoping to
and we're
bring.
not, and we're certainly not a perfect people, but we're not bad people.
No, no, I couldn't agree more. That's one of the goals I have with podcasting is actually from the American's perspective.
Oh
We're
yeah,
such a
absolutely.
diverse people.
Yeah,
I don't feel just because I'm white, in color, I still have colored, like,
yeah.
different cultural background that, like, there, it's like when I'm in the kitchen and I'll unironically play like Spanish music, and I know people look at me, but it's like that's what I'm used to working around,
Yes.
and I enjoy that, and like, man, yeah, I'm the white guy that likes the Spanish music, but that's what I enjoy,
Well,
and
yeah, go ahead.
it's it's just it, it's it's something I enjoy about music is it's really not that. Like it's labels that we define, um and really music is universal, language is universal. There's aspects to this life that we just learn along the way. We're not naturally born to understand. You have to be
No.
exposed.
Well, I will tell you, you fire up my radio or whatever I'm taking, and I'm still the '60s guys. I love '60s musics. I'll tell you what is funny. Sometimes I never listen to the lyrics, and then I get along. I mean, this is a song I heard 38 years ago or 50 years ago, and I listen to the lyrics and I think, oh man, I didn't know. I didn't know I didn't know they said that, So, and listen, lots of this undercurrent mindset would not be acceptable anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, you just, gosh, uh, there was this, I'm your, I can't remember the lyrics on it, but this guy's basically telling this little girl, and he was going to lure her over the cars with candy. Now that's an old song, and that wasn't what it meant, but that's what it sounds like now. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
your. It's just insane. So, but I'm contemporary music. I'm not the target. I don't get offended by it. I don't listen. Rap, I wasn't the target audience. I don't care about it one way or the other because just like my generation was a target and we loved what came out of the radio. I don't fault that from other kids. It's just another generation, and we our music shocked our parents, and my some of the stuff my boys have left kind of shocked me, but only in the sense that it was worse than what we were saying in the '60s. So
But yeah, you can't get ignorant of either side and either age.
no,
It's
no,
generational. It's something people are at fault for a lot, and they miss out on great opportunities. Like there's a bunch of kids I've met that, 13, 15, and they're
yeah,
already like into deep hobbies and working on music, and it's like,
yeah,
people are very intelligent. I never liked being underestimated as a kid for, you know, trying.
no,
I always wanted to be involved when I
yeah,
could, and
yeah.
I appreciated people that gave me that chance.
Well, when you sit back and you listen to a dialogue like this, and somebody can say, "Well, I think, I don't mind somebody saying, well, hey, Rick, I don't agree with you. That's okay. It's okay. It's only more. It's like if this mindset. Well, we all have to agree. We all have to think the same way. That's not going to happen. We are unique beings in the sense that we're adventurers. We're still there's still prairie out there. There's still areas where minds have not gone. I don't agree with lots of things that I see on the news, but I don't fall apart. I don't fault somebody. I don't want somebody shut down because they don't say the same thing or believe the same thing I believe. We have the right to disagree, and we don't have to hate each other because we don't agree something. It's okay. It's okay. We can get beyond, because I think when I go back to 9/11, I remember I was in Atlanta when that I was in Atlanta. I was on a sale. I was a sales rep at that particular time, environmental product stuff, and I felt so close to everybody that I was around. This is my countrymen. These are my co-citizens, and they're Spanish, and they're black, and they're male, and they're female, and they're gay, and they're this, and they're whatever. This is my American family, and I think we've lost some of that.
Yeah, it society's meant to be connected. If
Sure
we're
it is.
not connected, we're
Yeah,
doing it wrong
yeah,
ultimately.
yeah. Yes, it is. But now we're starting to say I'm seeing it say well, we don't want to hear your opinion. Well, okay, but I don't. I don't mind hearing yours. And what I'd like to do is maybe have some dialogue where you can see where I'm coming from. But that's not where we're at in 2023. We are. And I'm I'm looked I'm bypassed. I'm 75. I don't know anything. I'm old. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to the dialogue. But that's not true because everybody does. I
Yeah.
think you have that. I think you have it when you're 13 years old. You've got a right to say when at 13 is I laugh. I said somebody should have locked me up at 13. That's what they should have. But listen to them. Talk. It's okay. It's okay to disagree. I don't have the power to if you and I were just sitting here arguing, Cameron, I don't have the power. I'm just going to shut this down. We're not going to talk. No, I may not talk you out of it, but I want to listen to your side. And sometimes you get back, and flexibility with finesse is something that you need to be able to do when you're in a situation where someone is really not receptive to what you're trying to share. Well, okay, then back off of it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, stepping back is always a very good step,
Yeah,
in dismissing any wrongs that someone might send your way.
yeah,
Uh, because yeah, you don't have control over what's what you're gonna see in the day. You can moderate, but you never have full control over
yeah.
what's
And
gonna
I
happen.
know I'm not right about everything. Uh, I try to listen, but I live in a narrow frame of I'm not at work, I'm not around coworkers. All of those dynamics change. I spend most of my time, my wife and I, at the yard or here at the house, and flowers and grandchildren. A lot simpler. I'm not a warrior anymore. I'm not out on the streets. I'm not dealing drugs. All of these kind of things. I'm not working. I'm not stealing from my employer or making my employer wealthy or any of that. And it is different for me. But as an observer of life, I watch kids and I think kids in some cases, these kids are giving up. These
Yeah,
kids are 17, 18 years old and giving up. We have we have unusually uh, amount of murders in our community here in Columbus, Georgia, and it's small gangs, and sometimes there's 5 or 6 people, but they're killing one another. They're 17 years old, and it just breaks my heart. I think, man, 17 years old. I'll tell you what, I'll trade you because I could use another round and see if I can do it a little bit better. It just grieves me. But these kids are making a lot of money, and there's I don't I can't grasp the fact that you're going to kill somebody in a small town like this and think you're going to get by with it. It rarely. I would say that of the murders that happened here in Columbus since the beginning of the year, probably there's maybe two or three are unsolved. Everybody, we've got a dead 16-year-old with a 18-year-old who shot and killed him or her, and that just I don't have an answer for it. I'm not asked for one either.
man. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
tough.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a beautiful side of reality.
No, it's
It's a
not.
very harsh side.
No, it is, and it is. It is. But one of the things that does I do recall. First of all, is my life as a Christian, and there was a life before that. There would people who would say that the first one was better than the second one. There were people who tell you, well, Rick, the Christian life is better than the hippie life, and blah 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 blah. But you got to find what works for you. What is it that will keep you safe and keep you sane? And if you are or I are involved in something that's really grinding on us physically, emotionally, and mentally, we got to stop.
Yeah.
And I can say that there are people who've done that on religion where they went in so deep, which is not right. But you've got to realize I can't just sit here, flag people down and just beat them over the head with theology. That's not what Christ did, and that's not how we're supposed. We're supposed to demonstrate it somehow. And I realize that there may be people that listen to this who aren't Christians, thinks Christianity is just a bunch of crap or whatever. They have that right to do it. But I also have the right to experience it and share it in any way that I could. And the best way for me, I don't go around and this would be that I say, hey, by the way, I'm a Christian. You do something out of your heart. You don't need any attaboy. You don't really need any thank yous. You do them, and down the road, an opportunity will always come up that somebody, maybe not the person that you reached out and blessed them some way and didn't say the first thing about Christianity or Christ. And then down the road, just the opposite happens. And because of that, somebody somebody quits a habit, somebody uh, you something come along that betters their life, and they walk into this life as a Christian only because you did something that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, showing through action is the best and the most effective. I mean,
We're not to do it to show boot. We're not. I don't have to go. I don't go over like I told you for the neighbor. I didn't go over and say, oh yeah, by the way, I love Jesus. No, I went over there because we wanted to, because it was in our heart, because we felt like it was the right thing to do. And if somewhere down the line, after a while, I will tell you, if you're living this life, people are going to spot it on you anyway. They're going to hear, they're going to realize and say, hey, how long you been a Christian? Well, I didn't advertise it. I don't have it on my shirt. I don't wear it. I don't have a tattoo. I don't have a lot of shirts or anything that say, I love Jesus. You just got to do it, because I think often we can get too goofy and run people off as Christians because we just throw stuff on them way too fast. Just treat them right. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they're drunk. I don't care what they're doing. Treat them right. Be right. Be loving. Be concerned. Be compassionate. I'm not there. I'm not a counsel. I'm supposed to just I'm supposed to just reach out with some sense of comfort to somebody, just comfort. And if they pursue beyond that and ask me perhaps some, I'll offer. But if I think that the worst thing is to give advice that when you've not been asked a question. Wait till someone asks you your question, and then they've opened the door. But I'm not one of those Christians who's just going to, hey, by the way, I'm a Christian now. Here, look, I got my Christian ID card. No, just wait. Treat people with some dignity, regardless of what their lifestyle is. Don't be a judgment. Judge yourself. I got enough. I got enough. I got to police myself on a regular basis. I'm not here to police everybody else. But I will tell you, when you do this with people, when you sit and listen, and you don't beat them up, you don't jump on them immediately. You got to have a relationship with someone. You got to have trust. There's got to be a human, and it's got to be sincere. And when you do that, you're able to, and I don't say that necessarily that somebody's going to become a Christian because that. I think I've watched people change what was harmful habit or a bad habit or the wrong outlook, or relationally they weren't doing well as a dad or as an uncle or as an aunt or whatever. That's what we're supposed to do. This is our job as Christians. Our Christians isn't just to beat people up because they're going to hell. That's not going to work.
No, no, I completely agree with you. And it is something that people don't recognize enough, that it is all about showing compassion and
Yes. Yes.
dedication to learning
Yes.
what others need. I want to apologize for an audio glitch that happened in the middle of this next portion. It's brief, but there is a little difference in what we talked about on topic, and I hope you can understand and still enjoy what we have in store. It was a fun recording, and there's still plenty to be said even after the glitch in traffic, so to speak. So stick around, and I do wish you the best. Thanks.
With the active life of the outdoors coming up, people are looking to be out and about more. Sasquatch Farms CBD brings organically grown products in the Sierra Nevadas, from the soil to the people. Farmer John has worked on green projects on the farm since 2013. He looks forward to providing you with the highest quality soaps, salves, CBD tinctures, pre-rolls, along with some other fresh products. It takes a community in farming to survive, so any efforts made to support our farmers in the world helps to support our society as a whole. So remember, if you can't catch him out on the farmers market, catch him online at SasquatchFarmsCBD.com. That's SasquatchFarmsCBD.com. Thank you. Now back to the show.
I wanted to lead into some questions about this, actually.
Go
With
ahead.
the
Go
church
ahead.
family.
Yeah.
What's some things you personally appreciate about having a church family?
Well, I think I think the strength of it is first of all there's a strength in the relationship. Now all churches, obviously churches are not all the same, and typically you or I are going to land in a congregation well, in my case, of other Ricks in a certain sense. When I say it that way, because I'm outgoing, I have fun. I'm not overly religious. Sometimes I may even sort of edge on some things that may not be appropriate. But I just, I'm me, and I make mistakes, and I say things at the wrong time, right time. But I love my church family, and what's nice about us, we are a multiracial. We are a multiracial church. And I would not want to go to an all white church. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's your choice. I don't think that makes you don't make you a bigot. Doesn't make you a racist. But I'm just more comfortable in that community, in a mixed community where we have some Hispanic families, and these are my brothers and sisters. They're no longer Hispanic. They're no longer black. They're no longer white. They're brothers and sisters, and we cry together, and we laugh together. We based on age and based on responsibilities, that we work hand in hand. There's times that I'm at a project at church, and I'm the oldest guy there, or I'm the only guy there. It's family, because that's how you do with your family. You do. It's the good and the bad, and ugly. You're not always right. You're not always appropriate. You're not always holy. You're not always heavenly. But you're always tight knit. You're always there for one another. And when you really need somebody to count on, I don't need somebody. I don't know somebody just to remind me of what I've done wrong, but to help me get on the other side of this other thing. And and you do that. And you certainly have you can go to 10 different churches, and there's different worship styles, there's different lengths in services, there's different colors, there's all of that. But you're going to fit one of them because that's what family is like. And you're always going to sort of you're going to eventually move into it. I've gone to this church that I'm at now. I've gone there for 42 years.
Wow.
What same church, grown up with these people. I've watched kids grown up. I love them. I keep up from them. Some of them have left and they've gone to other churches. I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me at all. And there are other people who just, they grew up in that church. They ought to be here. Well, no, they ought to be in a church where where they feel comfortable, where they feel where they're content, where they feel this is where I want to be. So I've watched my children, my first three sons, all grew up in our church. They don't go to that church now, or my church now. I don't care. It's fine. That's long as you're somewhere where you're being fed spiritually. That works for me.
Well, I think it's important, with the aspect of religion and bringing that fellowship, uh, breaking those barriers of color, like you're saying, where it's brothers and sisters. I always like that aspect of
Yeah.
at least Christian faith. So that's the one
Oh,
I'm most
absolutely.
familiar with it. But I know
Yeah.
it's not just with Christianity. There's plenty of religions where there's a mutual respect for life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely. I agree with you because they are different, and I'm not here to try to pick what I think is error in somebody's decision that they're going to go to this kind of church or that kind of church or whatever. That's not what we're our mission is as Christians. It is our witness. The only thing that I have to offer to somebody is what I feel in my relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'm here to tell you about him, not me. I'm here to make him known, not make me known. I don't have anything to offer beyond him. I mean, because I just don't. So I agree with you, and I don't know what goes on. I know that a Baptist church and an Episcopalian church and a Methodist church and independent, they're all a little bit different, and there are sometimes when we say inappropriate things about where a brother or sister or your niece or nephew is going to church. The worst thing you can do is begin to say, "Well, I'm going to, I love Cameron. I'm going to have to tell him he needs to leave that church," and that's done more damage than the narcotics have done. I really think that's
yeah.
uh, that you're not doing if you live it long enough, you're going to attract somebody's attention. They're going to ask you, "Hey, where you go to church?" Okay, well, here's what we do. With this, and our churches and praise and worship are different. My mother and father were devout Christians, and it was old hymns and all that worked for them. But at my 30 years old, when I started, man, there was drums and drums and horns and everything else, and my mom and dad would not have enjoyed that, and they did that. And I didn't try to make them go, and I didn't make fun of what they did. What what they what they did fed their hearts and fed their minds and fed their spirits, and that's what counts. And if there's error in the way, God's going to deal with that. It's a pure heart He's concerned about, and the rest of it is above my pay level. I'm I'm responsible for that. And the same thing of having a career. You pick a career. Somebody said, "Well, why'd you do that?" Well, that's because it's what I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah, there's always that aspect of there's a little bit of a journey
Yes.
that comes with the knowledge and the ability to explore and interact with something new.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did. That's what I did as an employee. I started the first job I ever had. I was a paper boy. Which then you tell a kid right now, would you like to be you can't get a paper route anymore. You don't get newspapers. Everything's in your hand on your phone. But working as a paper boy was a great learning. I think it was I think it was for a week's subscription, it was 10 cents and people would burn you for, they would even, they
Man.
wouldn't pay you, man. So, and then after that, I worked at a place called Danville Gardens. And what I did, we this is funny. We hoed crops. My mom and dad would often tell them their son was a hoer. And, and that's what we did. But good, I was making, we made 25 cents a day. It was fun. It
Wow.
was good pocket money. And then the first real job I got was at a fast food restaurant called Burger Chef. I don't even know whether they have them anymore. That was up in Illinois. I don't think they were ever down here, but it was one of the best job I had because I worked for a guy who was really tough, really fair, but really, really instilled in me a real what was just work.
Work ethic.
There's a way to work. Yeah, yes, and then I carried that on from career. Just you go there when somebody entrusts you, and we often look. We may not like the way somebody manages, but we're there. We have a mission, and that's my responsibility. They're paying me to do this, and I'm going to do it to the very best I can do it. And that's just always been the way I've done things, and never been sorry. And I think a man named Hank Henry Aaron, that was a strange name for him. But he really we did everything that you see in a fast food restaurant, but we did it all in our head. We guy would come in. I want 3 hamburgers. One with mustard, two with mustard, one with mustard and pickles. I want 2 milkshakes. I want a chocolate milkshake. I want French fries and that, and then blah 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 blah. You added that. You called that out to the back room, and then you ran the red. You did it thing. Okay, that's $4.78. But see, we did all that now. Now everything is electronic. A kid doesn't know how to count money back to you anymore. I knew how to count money back when I was 14 years old, but it was good training. And then just moving on to more and better. And I finally got in. When I really hit my niche, Cameron, was when I got involved in environmental management. And I was really started out. I worked for a company. We were going to like automobile shops and industrial. They used parts washers, and it was the 105 Floyd. It was really potent stuff for what it was. So you would change out that product every 1 week, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, and that solvent we would take it back in drums at that particular time. Small drums, 55-gallon drums, dump them in a tank right over here, not too far from the big Walmart that you probably went to a few times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right down there was where our office was. But what I did, I was a route guy, and that's what I did. But I began to look at 40 CFR. 40 CFR was it's how do I kind of say this? This is what you did from non-hazardous waste to hazardous waste stream was all managed under the 40 CFR. I began to study them, and I began to get to the point where I could sit and talk with a guy who might be a guy that spends in 4 years in college, but he knew I knew what I was talking about. And there I'm sitting there. I'm a guy with a uniform on with my name on it, which is usually just people can look down on that sometime. But they found out I knew what I was talking about, and I eventually got into management. And I loved environmental work. Really did. If you just uh, it just you felt like you were doing something because this stuff was going back and being recycled, and it used to be going put in 55-gallon drums and taken to landfills a long time ago.
Yeah, no, the processing has come very far. And one
Oh
of
yeah,
the guests that we had on the show, Jeff Sochek, a personal friend of mine on the podcasting panel as well, he
yeah.
did waste management for like 15, 20 years.
Okay,
And
yeah, waste. Yeah,
yeah,
very familiar with waste management.
he
Very
showed me his
familiar.
old facility and the process of, recycling all the materials and the gases and the
Oh
sludge
yeah,
that comes off of the landfill
yep,
waste.
yes,
It's a crazy, bizarre process, and I didn't know how much was involved directly from the facility itself because I grew up in a smaller community. It was always a
yes.
transfer station, so I just didn't understand the scale of those bigger plants.
Yeah, it is. Well, like us, we would. I was first of all the first 5 years. It was all hazardous waste streams, and we went from. I went from. I went from being on a truck to training people on the truck to I was automotive. I was the manager for the. We had an industrial stream. That was a different guy that managed that. I ran the automotive because I managed. I would train the guys, walk them through the system, how to handle the solvents and what they were, what you were supposed to wear. Uh, Realizing what you were taking was 105. So it had a little jolt to it. So you didn't want to spill this stuff on you. And then we ran out. We took out. They called me and said, "Well, uh, this was before I got in management. Then I took over. We started picking up waste oil, brand new Peterbilt trucks, just beautiful. And they said, well, Rick, because you know what you're doing, we want you to roll this out. And so it was just picking up waste oil, and then we would also pick up oil filters. It was a different job. Did that for a while and really enjoyed it. But that opened up a door again when I got the job to manage, train a guy, and take that over. And then I got a job offer up in Atlanta, and with with a big waste oil company. And I drove every day from Columbus to Atlanta for 6 years, back and forth, 5 days a week. I drive 125 miles each way. Loved the job, and but unfortunately, we had an explosion. But that's a whole other story. Um, it was
Man,
it blew up. It blew up the whole processing. What happened? One of the guys accepted a load of used oil that had gasoline in it. Didn't tell,
oh,
did not tell anybody that. So you're starting the process, and I'm setting up in my office at that time. And as a matter of fact, this is a family-owned company, and we heard the explosion, and we knew exactly where it was down the street. It took a 2,500-gallon tank and blew it about 100 feet over
jeez,
one of our offices. So
that's insane.
that it really was. I mean, that's just what vapor does. Vapor explodes. Unfortunately, nobody got killed, but the company never recovered from it. And then I came back. After that. We just, and after a while, also your customer base finds out, that somebody did that. We who did it don't know. I wasn't. That wasn't my management area was not on that facility. Mine was with the drivers and at the lower level. These were where somebody from outside came and said, I got 5,000 gallons of waste oil here, and somebody accepted it without testing it, and that's what happens. It
Yeah.
has consequences. So I ended up back down here, and then I took over a job with waste oil again. But this time, I was at a rail site running box cars full of waste program to a processing facility down in South Georgia, and did that up until the time that my heart started acting up when I was about 59, and I basically retired at 59. So that's,
Phew.
but I loved all that. It is a risky business. It is a very risky business. If somebody, when you talk about stepping out of line, these steps are there not only for the environment, but they're there to keep you safe and sound. And when the first time you take a shortcuts do not work in the environmental world. Something's going to go wrong, and unfortunately that was that. But there's other companies that can tell you worse stories than that, just because somebody mishandled a waste stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a very diverse field of chemicals you're working with. I'm sure
Oh, heck yes, it is.
everything on the spectrum.
Yeah, when I did industrial work at one time with the company here in Columbus, because I did because you had automotive in it, and those waste streams, you better be kidding me, because that was ethanol and there was all kinds of things. Even people were not doing anything illegal, and for a while they were just getting rid of it. And now all of a sudden I could come over, I could say, well, that 55-gallon can, we can get rid of it for you, but it's going to cost $400.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I mean, but that's transportation, that's process, and that's all I tell you, that when your product leaves, goes to my refinery, you're not going to have an EPA or DNR at your door, because we're going to do this right. And
Yeah.
to do it right costs money. And environmental, I mean, it just, you don't hear the horror stories anymore that you used to hear about mishandling waste streams or uh, taking shortcuts. I'm sure they happen. I mean, people do that, and you can get by with it once or twice or three times, but you better watch out, because when it catches up with you, it can hurt people. And we
Yeah.
see these with explosions in some facilities, and I marvel at how big companies really do a good job anymore. You just don't. I mean, right now, it's rail cars are the biggest problem we have, because we're transporting big. I mean, you could have 70 cars on that run, and they've all got chemicals in them. Now, something has to happen about that. That's not smart management. And
No.
that's not smart. That's not the best way to do it. There's got to be a better way to do it.
I totally agree with that. It's messed up. The supply chain needs work,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
especially for the safety of the environment. That's something we should all be concerned about. If that gets into waterways, streamways, I mean,
Oh
uh,
my gosh!
it's devastating.
There's so many different toxic things and toxics out there that you can do a lot of damage. Fortunately, big companies, they don't, they get some of these all the time, and again, that goes back to some things that maybe happened back in the '60s. We just did everybody. The big companies they're all criminals. They're all thugs. They're all liars. They're all cheating. Well, that's not true. There's
Yeah.
somewhere. I'm sure there's somewhere. I'm sure there were people before a lot of regulations were out there, when, especially back in the early '70s, late '70s, people were doing crazy stuff with waste streams. Well, it caught up with them, and now what happened?
Hey, welcome back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what that's one of my. This is where you get to when being old is excuse.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just old, and I couldn't see the bud, and my eyes are weak, and I'm not real bright. so, so so I did. I know you didn't do this, so I punched some button here on the
Hey.
other side. Hey, I want to say something else too, because I mentioned something about the heart thing. Can I talk
Yeah.
about health for just a minute?
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
I would encourage any listeners you out here, and you've got family or friend who've got heart issues and serious ones. There's a drug out called amiodarone, and I've taken amiodarone for almost 10 years. And then all of a sudden, over the past 3 years, I've had severe neuropathy. I've lost some vision in my right eye, other issues, and I found out this amiodarone is a hard way to say that. Amiodarone is a very toxic medicine, and if you've got family or friends who've taken this, it's designed. It is a medicine that slows your heart down. And now I've got this stuff is in my system. It's going to take at least 6 months. They took me off of it in August because of the neuropathy. So I've got it's going to take all this time. So I'm battling the neuropathy. I'm battling the vision thing, and so I then down the road, I don't know what they're going to do, what kind of medicine they're going to have. But if you've got family or friends who are taking amiodarone, talk to them. Tell them talk to their doctor. Make sure they're being tested. Make sure that there's X-rays, because this is a very powerful medicine, and it's killed people, it's injured people, it's crippled people, and you really need to talk to them, and because I didn't know it, I did not know this until 2 months ago. And when they were trying to decide where my neuropathy was coming from, and we finally tracked it down to the amiodarone. Strangely enough, when I first got this medicine, my cardiologist, who I love, gave me 200 milligrams, and boy, I had these big bruises, all kinds of stuff. Up and down my legs. And he said, well, just take half of one. So instead of 200 milligrams, I took 100. As much damage as the 100 milligrams has done to my system, I can't imagine what it would have been like if I took the 200. Your family member, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your grandma, your mother, your father, they may be doing fine, but please encourage them, if they're having any kind of physical problems, they need to talk to their cardiologist, and say, hey, I think maybe it's the amiodarone. It's a very, very well-known drug. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I wish somebody would have told me.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's if it can help a viewer, that's an extension of good medicine.
Yeah,
Give it credit
it
goes.
is. Yeah, it is. And I will tell you, now if I'm going to have my gripe is I can't really fault my cardiologist, because I tell you, it is the producer of that medicine who
Yes.
perhaps is not as honest or as forthcoming as they should be. And I realize when we take drugs, they're not normal. We're not designed to take those kind of medicines in lots of cases. But I want somebody making sure they're looking after my health, and giving me some realization. Listen, you're going to take this medicine. Here's what's going to happen. You may have you may have a little loss of appetite. You may have some difficult sleeping. All the stuff that you see, that's fine. But when something can do what this has done to me, and in some cases it's killed people. In some cases it completely blinded them. Some people, they've lost limbs and stuff. The neuropathy in itself is brutal. I mean, if you've never had it, I'm I'm in my second month, and I tell you what we're doing. I'm doing real high doses of vitamins. Doesn't that sound weird? But it
Yeah.
works. But it works. I'm a month in,
Oh,
and it used to be with neuropathy, if I can say it this way, when you get off your feet and lay down on a pair of sheets, the sheets of your bed, they hurt your feet. Your feet are almost, all those nerves are on fire. They're all those nerves in your feet are
uh,
inflamed. So it's pretty brutal. It really
kind
is.
of like gout in that sense.
Yeah, it's like gout on steroids. I mean, just really,
Uh,
it's really powerful. So you sound like you've had a little dose of something, but this neuropathy is it's wicked. But I would tell you, I was hesitant. The vitamins cost me $169 for a 3 month supply, the best $169 I've ever spent. And I was skeptical. I wasn't going to do it. Thank God I did it, because I'm really seeing the progress. And I'm only about, I still got, it's going to take another 6 months to really get this cleaned out of my system. But all of this stuff, these nerves in your feet, they'll come back.
oh
They're,
yeah.
yeah, they will come back. Yes, they will. And I've had it in my hand. I want to tell you something funny. I can make fun of myself. I couldn't figure out. I could not get a key in a keyhole. So,
Oh
I,
man.
I, I mean, I'm walking there and I'm looking. I think, good. Okay, I'm 75, but I'm a pretty young 75. I'm moving pretty, but I'm thinking, and I found out I had the neuropathy in my hands.
uh, you
Ah,
didn't know at
no,
that point.
I did not know it, and it's gotten better. And I thought I just couldn't. It's frustrating. I thought, I mean, my hands are not. See, and here's the thing: was weird. My hands weren't shaking. I just, I just couldn't get the key in the
Oh
keyhole.
my gosh.
And but I didn't know why. But now I know. So information works. So, and I'm
Yes.
sure I'm sure if you've got any, there's a lot of neuropathy stories out there. I'm sure. So,
There.
but this is all. You realize this is just all because I was taking a 100 milligram pill every day. Every day I took 100 milligram of of that of the I always forget the name of it. I've just forget
No,
anyway.
it's ridiculous though. I mean, just the amount of substance they ask you to ingest sometimes at some of those facilities, like knowing that they haven't been properly tested, and
That
and it's not the medical
no,
caregivers like
no.
you're saying. It's these manufacturing companies that
Well, the big pharma, and
yeah.
I'm skeptical. I mean, I find. I mean, this isn't the only bad medicine that's ever been out there, but somebody, well, once you read the paper that comes on with it, I wish I could, but I'm not. I'm not a chemist. I can't. I could take that piece of paper when I get my prescription filled. Right now, I can't see enough well enough to read it, so it doesn't do me much good. So anyway, I would I don't want somebody else to walk into this, because this has been a miserable 3 years is what it's been. So, but I'm on the upside of it. But and thank God for good doctors who do that kind of work, and who would have ever thought that vitamins would do it. But I can see the difference already. 1 month in, They do not, because it is brutal. I mean, it is real, because I've got it. I mean, because we're talking right now, there, without this, they will take your feet off, and if that doesn't help, they will take your legs off to your knee, from your knees down. And if they have to, they'll cut off your legs.
Man.
And
Yeah, that's no joke.
this is what my doctor told me. So we've got to find out what this is, or I'm going to have to start. And because he I really like, he said, because, or I'm going to have to start whittling on you, Rick. So we just went through a whole series of tests, took almost 4 minutes, and we narrowed it down to the amrodione. And then the first thing I did was look it up, and sure enough, that was one. And when I told my new heart doctor, he said, "Yeah," he said, it does cause neuropathy, and I'm taking you off of it immediately." So anyway, pass that
Man,
on.
yeah.
Pass
It
that
is
on.
quite the tangent to share, though, because
Well,
it's not
that's, go ahead.
well, it's just not a pleasant experience in the slightest to, have something happen to your body out of all things.
Yeah, yeah, that is for sure. And speaking of that, I've got to go in. There's some medical things that I've got to do. I do every evening, and I want to thank you for sitting here and listening to a talkative old guy come in and reminisce. And but it is fun to talk about this, and I really am really thankful for the opportunity to, if nothing else, is to put out an alert on this medicine from any of your listeners. uh, it will save them a lot of time. Okay.
Absolutely, Rick. Are
All
you
right. Well, go
well,
ahead.
if you're free for just 5 more minutes, I could
I got
give you
five.
the just before you leave, I wanted to well, I have three questions and we'll
Okay,
make
that's
it brief.
fine. I got
What's
time for that.
what's the best advice you can give to the struggling student or person failing to see their place in life? What has having a family what has having a family done to change your appreciation for life?
Well, I think the most important thing is that you've got to chase your dream. You can chase your dream. You can live the dream you want. Now you may not be able to play a professional baseball, but you may be able to play Class A baseball. You go out and chase your dream, and you put your best effort down, and you're going to be fulfilled. You find you may bounce around a little bit, but you're going to find it, and family will be there, and family is there. They will help you. They will encourage you. And if you've got a dysfunctional family, then you need a new family. In my life, I would tell somebody, get you a church family. Oh yeah, okay. Well then, you got to get you got to get one somewhere. You go find one where you people of like minds who are going to encourage you, who are going to help you, who are going to help you open doors, who are going to encourage you, who will tell you, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can overcome this. Yes, you can dream. You can own your own business. Yes, you can do this, but you're going to have to pay the price in it. That it's going to cost you a little something. It's going to cost you some time, and you're going to put a different. You can go out and get another job. Nothing wrong with it. Chase your, but find something that you really enjoy doing, not simply because it pays you a lot of money. If something pays you a lot of money and you're miserable every day, you're not going to be fulfilled. If it would be more that you would just be, you want to be a dog catcher, you be the best darn dog catcher anybody's ever seen, because what you're doing touches people's lives, and everybody loves a pet animal. Or you can be a physician, or you can be an architect. Just go out, and you and I, with our own family members, the younger ones, you and I, our responsibility is to tell them, you can do this. You can do this. This is what you're going to have to do. Give them the step. Give the effort. It's not going to be easy. Sometimes it will be, but never, never just tell somebody, hey, this is candy. This is going to fall right together for you. Sometimes we're going to have to really put out an effort and battle for a job. And I would tell anybody, chase your dream. chase your dream. But this is what you want. When I got my niche into environmental, I felt I was at home. I was perfect because I went out after it. I didn't have a college degree, but I could sit down and talk with any environmental management in any company that we did business with. There were some waste streams that were over my head. I didn't go there. But when I the ones that I could do where I knew that I could stand and tell somebody honestly what we were doing with a waste stream, what they were doing wrong with a waste stream, where we could help them, that was fulfilling, and that's what you need to do, whether it's managing a McDonald's or working at a real high tech company. You can do it. Go out, get it, and don't let someone tell you you can't do it.
Oh, I think that's well worded, Rick, and thank you for sharing that. I
You're welcome.
have only one question for you left, and
What you
well,
got?
are there any forms of media, books, or articles you'd like to share with the audience that you found helped you in your life?
No, because I've never been that big of a reader. The one that I've read the most that's changed my life is the Word of the Lord, is the Bible, and there are some authors out there, but I found out that there are great Christian authors out there, but I can find in His Word the comfort that I'm looking for, the encouragement that I'm looking for, and I would tell somebody. But I'm not an anti-reader at all. But you've got to do your homework, and you got to realize there's a lot of even in the Christian world, there's hundreds of authors out here with each with a look of James 7:13. Okay, well, after a while, why don't you go read James 7:13? But I'm trying to. I was an avid reader at one time, but I did what I was reading. I read. Oh gosh, I was trying to think of some of the things that finally became movies after a while. But I read a lot back in the '60s, but it was stupid stuff. That's really what it was. So no, I haven't hit something that other than the Word of the Lord, and there are good authors out there that did anything else.
Well, hey, Rick, that's still very valuable information, and I can definitely attest to the knowledge that's in the Bible. There's a lot of Psalms and
Yes.
Proverbs that I connected with,
Yep.
going through school that helped define who I feel like I am today.
That
So,
is, and there are books out there. There are good authors, but I mean, to me, if I was in a job, then I'm going to start to look for author, as I did. But my mind was the 40 CFR. It was easy. It was a little wordy at first because it's typical government talk. But when you pay attention to it and realize what kind of waste streams you're having. So whatever you're doing, that's that will tell you what you need to do when you go to the library. If you're going to be a brain surgeon, you don't need 40 CFR out of the library. You need to read something. If you're going to be a sales rep, if you're going there, the art of the deal. I know that that's an anti-Trump thing, but it was a great book when he did it. That's irrelevant to anything else. In the same sense that there are other people who've written great stories and great guidelines based on doing something practical that they wanted to do. And so if I'm going to be a shoe salesman, I'm going to tell you this, Cameron, I'll be the best shoe salesman that anybody's seen ever, because I will look for resources out there and guys who've done things in retail. They may not have sold shoes, but they can do. If this guy can sell 100 cars, how many pairs of shoes can I sell based on what this individual did? So yeah, go look for it. And then right now we can Google it.
No,
and
I
say,
know
okay,
it's a
then just say,
powerful tool,
yeah,
man. That internet.
but it makes you better. It's going to get me if I'm willing to say, okay, here, what are the, I go get a job and they go, okay, here's our expectation. Okay, well, I'm not there to meet it. For me, I'm there to exceed it, not to be arrogant, not to be what they used to call a spring butt. If I'm going to be sell cars, I'm going to be a really good car salesman. If I'm going to be a brain surgeon, I'm going to be the best brain surgeon. If I'm going to be a manager at McDonald's, I'm going to be the best one they've ever had. And I'm going to look for resources. I'm going to look for stories. I'm going to look for people who succeeded at a different level, but what they've done, I can apply at this particular position in my life, what I'm doing. It can make me better at what I'm doing.
I think that's a great takeaway to leave the crowd with. Honestly, it's
All right, well, good. Well, listen, I thank you so much. And
yeah.
you'll
Thank
hear
you.
from me again. Okay?
Absolutely. I'll let you slip away. It's been a pleasure, Rick. Truly.
Okay,
Much
take care,
love, and
Karen.
stay safe.
All right, going to do it. Bye now.
Take care. Thanks again for stopping by on today's podcast. We had a really fun time, Rick and I hate that we had to cut the discussion a little short, but it happens, and I think the discussion we had was full and hearty as well. It's not to shame what we had, and I really appreciate you coming by, Rick, and being a part of this project. I appreciate everyone being in this community and taking part in these episodes. We have a YouTube up now, and there's going to be video format pretty soon. I'm getting my webcam ordered right away, and it will be here Wednesday as of this week. So I should have access to that. We will be committing to media format and some episodes in the future. On the Intellectual Adventure podcast, we will be looking at doing video format for every one of our episodes. So be on the lookout for that on October 18th, tomorrow, based on this recording. Thanks again, and I really do hope you enjoyed. Until next time, this has been the World Networking Podcast.